Being that it's 6:30, I'll call the meeting of the Conservation Commission for October 3rd open. And first order of business will be to approve the September 5th minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And we have some continued public hearings. 252 Pleasant Street. It's first on the agenda, so you're up.
Okay. I was hoping that somebody would be here, like Rebecca or Larry Silva, but I'm not seeing him here yet.
Maybe
Oh, yeah.
it's early.
Okay.
Want to table it and move
We
to...
will
Yeah, we'll give him.
that's fine, if you don't mind.
No, I,
Lincoln Street and South Elm Street? You're up.
Tony Friends from
I don't know.
Costin Associates.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Here we got the continued hearing on Lincoln and South Elm. I believe that the last hearing, the commission had some concerns. John was able to provide us with a list of things they'd like to see added to the plan. We revised the plans to include those changes, and in particular on lot 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. So if you'd like, I can quickly go over those revisions and we can go from there. Lot 1.
Is that, because we have lot 22-2, 22-3, 22-5, and 22-6.
Well, I have 22-1, 2, 3, 5, and 6.
Could you turn it so we can see, please?
Yeah,
We don't have a lot 1,
You don't have a lot 1? We have a lot.
unless that's
Well, it's 22-1,
2.
Yeah, 22-1.
and,
I should say, let me rephrase that. With 22-1, it's not within the buffer zone,
yes.
but it is within the natural
Okay.
heritage.
That's why we didn't
That's why I
have
don't
it.
have it.
So it's not
Okay.
a file number
Okay.
or anything. And he's presenting it for information about our
Yeah.
concern with the country swale in front of the
okay.
lot.
So, lot 1, which is not under your jurisdiction, but there was concern about the swale that goes down alongside the road. So we put a note on the plan that swale will be
That's
maintained,
right across the street.
and that any driveway crossing, there'll be a pipe placed under that driveway just so that the drainage can continue down the street as it goes down.
Okay.
Moving on to one that is under jurisdiction.
We see what it says, like.
So, Tony, while you were talking, I was asking them to sit up here closer so they could see it. So did you explain that the only reason, or the only thing that we needed to have on that plan was the note about the swale?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is here.
All right. So thanks for doing that, even though it wasn't in our jurisdiction, we wanted that note on there.
What size pipe does it specify?
It's going to be a 12-inch,
12,
probably class 5.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to lot 2. A couple of the issues. One was creating a conservation easement down in this area, which we've created on 8.5 by 11 easement plans. That'll be part of the documents for recording. So we've given copies. Have we given you copies of this, John?
I have scanned copies.
Scanned copies. I can give you these ones sometime. So we've created a conservation easement down in this corner. We've added indication for signage along the 50-foot buffer zone. We've added a dewatering pit down in this area, and we've added roof infiltration. It's designed for the 10-year storm event, and it picks up approximately 75% of the roof. It picks up the main house and the back portion of the garage. So it's plastic chambers. There's 12 of them, I'm sorry, and it's 6 by 34, about 18 feet off the house, and look at the downspouts reach out to the groundwater. there's a detail of that here with some elevation, so the contractor knows where to set it. Any questions on this one here?
I don't. Do you have any questions, or
No, where was that?
That's Lincoln Street, second lot down from Russo's.
Oh, okay.
No, did you say anything about putting a berm in, maybe on just that corner where the driveways collide, or you think there'd be a problem with the erosion? There's a lot of water that just comes off.
Well, after the last meeting where you had that concern, I talked with the engineer, and we're going to get the erosion control in, and if we see that they need to put a berm in,
Yeah.
they'll do it as part of the driveway construction. If and we can actually put that in the order,
Yeah.
that during the construction phase, if it's necessary to have a berm put in, we'll have it put in.
Okay.
But if it's gentle enough so that it doesn't create any issue,
Yep.
then they don't have to. But we'll try to cover it with the order conditions.
We've also added a note regarding the swale again on this lot and the driveway crossing. Same note that was added to the previous one. Now we move on to lot 3. Again, we've added a note regarding the driveway crossing. We've also added the signage along the 50-foot buffer zone. We've added the dewatering pit. We've also added the roof recharge system again on this one, again with another detail and elevations. We've also added, we also have created the conservation easement, which will fall in this area here and also along the back. This is the largest of the there's 8 lots total, but there's 6 that were being developed. So we have,
I think it's 3 sheets, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
yeah, it's three sheets. So we have the easement on there. First easement is about just under 25,000 square feet. And the easement to the rear, which would be from the 50-foot buffer zone back, is over 220,000 square feet. And again, these are 8.5 by 11 for recording.
So those easements will still be owned by the lots, but we'll have that extra protection on it. And Natural Heritage really liked that idea that there was going to be extra protection thrown in on the wetlands to make sure they didn't get disturbed.
And we also have signage on this side. There's a retaining wall, as you know, on this side. So we have signage on this 50-foot buffer and along this back. Any questions?
By the way, we'll do the same thing about that driveway.
Move on to lot number 5. What's happening here is this driveway was originally on 345 South Elm, around South Elm Street. So we've moved it over to what's going to be known as Lot 8. So the driveway comes up the side here. It's not in jurisdiction, but I just wanted to make it known. We've included a dewatering pit here. We've added a 50-foot buffer to the vernal pool that is in the back here. We've moved the well so that it's out of that 50-foot buffer. We've also put in the roof recharge system here. And we've placed the signage again along the 50-foot buffer zone. Again, another detail there. And on lot 5, we've created a conservation easement which will fall down in this area here. And also along this back portion. Basically what we did with the easement was just come down and just include this entire 50-foot area, minus obviously the well location of the easement.
What happens if the well needs to be fixed or repaired?
It's outside the 50-foot buffer, and most likely, if it's just repair, we wouldn't even have to make them file for it, because they basically, it's probably going to be a drilled well, right? So they're pretty deep, so they basically pull out the old pump, or piping or electrical if it's got a short in it or something, and then they put it back in, so there's very little disturbance. But having it outside the 50 will make sure that none of the tailings from the drilling and that kind of thing will get into the 50-foot buffer.
Any questions? Okay. Lastly, lot number 6. Again, we have a note regarding, we're also on South Elm Street. We have a note regarding the swale down this area. We're gonna put a pipe underneath the driveway. We have notes here. We've added the roof infiltration in the back, along the back of the property. We also have markers indicating along the 50-foot buffer zone. And here's another detail regarding the roof recharge. And then on lot 6, the easement basically will follow along this 50-foot buffer and encompass this area here. That's just over 10,000 square feet. And I believe that addresses the issues up to this point.
John, anything else?
Just like to say that with all the changes that were made and the extra protection with the conservation easements, I think you guys put together a good plan.
Thank you.
And we do have a copy of the letter from National Heritage. So that's in the file. Anybody else questions?
Those two house lots there, they have a common driveway? Coming out the
This-
south end?
This one does not, but what is known as
Lot 5.
Lot 5. Oops. We'll get it. What is known as Lot 5, or just east of the existing house, 345,
Yeah.
there'll be a driveway that'll go to the, what'll be known as Lot 8, okay, and Lot 5 will share a driveway. And that driveway will go at the back for Lot 5. But it won't have anything to do with 345.
You said there were 6 lots there and you just...
Six, there's 8 total, 6 will be new houses.
6, I thought it was 4.
No, 6 will have new houses. 345 exists, and then
Oh,
there's one on the corner.
With the existing houses that are there now?
Yes, I believe this
Okay,
one
yeah.
on the corner, right
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
corner is a
yeah.
two-family.
Yeah. The existing lot and the house on the corner is that all under the same ownership?
Yes.
He last time he was, he said he had an overlay, would have an overlay picture of where everything was gonna look. Do you have one?
I do not, but I can get one and turn into the commission and have one.
Okay.
Or if you'd like to leave them your address,
Yeah.
I will get them a copy, or I'll get the address from them, and then I can email, so I'll mail you a copy. if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the. Okay. I don't have any.
Anybody else, any other questions?
One thing to add, the existing house at the corner, they're not doing anything with it right, excuse me, right now, so that it hasn't been filed. However, if they need to do a septic system upgrade, which, if I recall, I saw a cesspool out in the back, so it'll probably will need upgrading. They'll have to file at that time, but it's not part of this new construction phase of the,
That one on the corner, the two-family, that one's being lived in.
Yeah, there's one lady lives downstairs.
The other house, is anybody living in that one right now?
I don't believe so.
it looked vacant to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Charlie was here a minute ago, but I
Okay.
don't believe so.
I didn't think so, yeah. I just
Oh, the
wanted to
one
make
out
sure.
back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they just remodeled.
Now, those are just gonna be later on down the road remodeled, or
I honestly don't.
just don't know then?
I'm going to, I can only at this point assume that those are remaining and will
Yeah.
be sold. And,
Upgrades to whatever needs to be done there.
from what I understand, this is a pretty interesting house, nice house, so it used to be, you can tell there's an engine at one time.
That's not the, where Mrs. Alexander's living now.
No.
No, I believe she's living
Oh,
here,
she's
which is
living
number
here.
325.
Yeah, but she just did that house all over, and siding and windows and stuff.
Anybody else? Any other questions? All right. And hearing none, I will entertain a motion for lot 22-2 to close the hearing.
Make that motion?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I will entertain a motion to issue an order for conditions.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, lot 22-3, Lincoln Street. I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make that motion?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'll entertain a motion to issue the order of conditions.
I'll make the conditions, the order.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Lot 22-5, South Elm Street. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those
I
in
was getting
favor?
confused.
So moved. A motion to issue the order of conditions.
And I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And lot 22-6, Lincoln Street. I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. I will entertain a motion to issue the order of conditions.
And I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Do we have 252 Pleasant Street?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We might as well go on to LEC EOMS continuance. That
Yes,
was,
to be continued. I have a couple of those. but-
yeah, we have a bunch of continuances, so, that is for the recycling facility. I'll entertain a motion to continue, and have they asked for a date?
They suggested the next
17th?
meeting. Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to continue the 17th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. We have
Ash Street?
Ash Street, 61. Collins Engineering, we've been asked to continue that one until the 17th. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. We have Luke Estates and Luke Drive, and they've both been asked to continue. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll
Make
make the motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Can I say pagan aye? Is that the 17th too?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I think we're on to our administrative. And he's here, the man of the hour.
I was actually locked in my office. I didn't have a key to lock it.
Name's on the door and he doesn't have a key.
We will reopen 252 Pleasant Street. Whenever Larry's ready.
I apologize.
That's okay. We've had plenty of time to continue all the other things that didn't want to come tonight.
I think the first order of business though was, and I don't know, is it as far as the existing order or after?
We're gonna have to deal with that at the next meeting.
Oh, I'm talking about the rescission.
The
rescission of that one.
COC for the old one, yeah, we'll have to deal
Okay,
with
and do that before you issue a
Yeah.
new one anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so the hearing was continued a number of times, and the reason why it was done so was because we were going before the ZBA, and the ZBA had hired a consultant
to review drainage, and so the commission had sort of indicated that they will wait for that review to be done so that the drainage would be reviewed as part of that process. We went through the process with ZBA. ZBA approved the plan after it was thoroughly reviewed by Art Cabral, and as a result, we made changes in the design itself. Just making sure that we took care of some of the issues that were in the original plan. For example, the zoning board was looking for there to be a better understanding of where equipment was being stored, where vehicles were being stored, and that there were appropriate controls in those areas just in case there was an issue with one of the vehicles' storage of gasoline or in their tanks and so forth. And basically just making sure that all those safeguards and all the design storms were being addressed and as part of the design, and also that we met all elements of stormwater management. Now, I don't know what, if you were party to the comments and the letters from Art Cabral? No?
No.
Oh, okay. And so basically went back and forth, and then as a result of his review, the ZBA then, like I say, approved, subject to a few conditions of approval, which were some minor changes that had to be made to the final set of plans, which have been made to the set that you have here. I think there was one outstanding issue that Art was just wanted to make sure of that we provided the backup for, and that was related to scour protection on the discharge from the drainage. And I know that Rebecca and Art went back and forth on that. I mean, he's satisfied that everything is fine with the plan. He just wants to have just a better understanding about how the level spreader is actually going to make sure that there's no scour that would occur. And so I would just suggest that any action taken by the commission would be just contingent upon that final, basically, statement from Art that he was 100% satisfied on that one item. So, as far as the plan itself, there isn't much of it wasn't like a substantial difference from before. As you know, the wetland line was one that was already in place. There were 50-foot buffers, and where there was no work. There was also habitat provisions through natural heritage that were already in place from before. There were proposed turtle nesting areas. And as far as the building changes from the earlier one that was approved, slight changes in terms of its location. The parking was changed in terms of its location up to the right of the building. The concrete apron and the controls on that were sort of tweaked a little bit. And then the other part of it was that there was basically an interceptor trench on the back side, so that as water came across the storage area, it would be intercepted and brought in to the through the stormwater management system. And discharge from that is in this area here, still outside of the 50-foot zone. Other things that ZBA dealt with were really not things that were necessarily something that the commission would be interested in. It had to do with screening and lighting and things like that. But that's pretty much how everything goes in terms of how everything is captured on this side here. Everything that's in behind the building and so forth gets captured right in this area here. And then there is some drainage that's captured that sheds this way, that's captured in here, and there's pre-treatment of it, and then it goes in either through detention basin here, or the detention basins 2 and 3 that were over here.
How much of it is blacktop?
Percentage-wise, I mean, as far as the blacktop, they had us increase the amount of blacktop in here. So before, where this entire thing was a compacted gravel surface, they had us actually increase that amount of blacktop area in here, so that this would be the area where there would be actual vehicle storage, if there's any vehicle storage. So that this whole corridor in here would be for anything else, any other kind of equipment or materials that they would be storing on site. So that was increased a little bit in size in terms of that. Essentially though, compacted gravel and pavement really behave pretty much the same, but there's better control on pavement in terms of making sure that it sheds off and you can capture it better.
And that's all gonna go to the back?
Everything here sheds to the back. There's a point in here, these are 273s that are in here, so anything on this side of the driveway coming in comes back towards the basins that collect here. And there's a basin on this side here. So that all collects into here and goes through this drainage basin here. But everything, the majority of the site goes to the back. And then comes back around this way here to the northeast corner of the site.
The turtle nesting habitats, those are all installed. That-
No.
No,
Those
no,
haven't-
they were not, they have to be installed. They were not installed yet. No work had actually been done under the order.
So the barriers weren't put up?
The
to-
barriers are in place.
Okay, that's where I was going with
Yeah.
the next part, to find out whether the barriers were in place so
Yeah,
that,
the barriers are still there, so.
okay.
But nothing else had been done.
Because I know the site's being used, and if
The site's not being used now.
there's nothing stored at all.
It's the next one.
next
Okay, the next one up,
The
that's
next
right,
site was
that's right,
being
you're right,
used, not this
you're
one.
right.
And
Okay,
there was
but
a
as
lot
long
of
as-
confusion
right,
about that
on
next
the-
door too, when we were going through that.
Okay,
So some of the activity that was there that shouldn't have been happening was actually affecting our ability to get through on this one. But that's life.
I have nothing else. Anybody else questions? John, I know you,
All set with me.
all right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'll entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry.
Sorry, I was gonna have to go up there, Larry, and wing it, so.
What's that?
I was gonna have to go up there and wing it, I didn't see where you were. You got me nervous.
Number 11? 10?
Number 10, certificate of compliance for 586 Manley Street.
Speak with. Try again. So this is a cash surety. A little bit
The rescission.
more simple. We weren't able to address the language request on the bonding, so moved to a cash surety. It's a little easier to swap up.
All right, this, this is the first time I've seen it, so it looks as if the, Clean Energy Collective LLC will be entering, and the commission will be entering into agreements with the Equitable Bank, which has an address at 744 Broad Street in Weymouth, to have an account with the bank for $16,000 to be the security for the construction or reconstruction, if necessary, of the restoration area. And I would say, just looking at it very quickly, they seem to have addressed my concerns about the insurance policy that seemed to be able to be canceled. And I was afraid that if, for whatever reason, Clean Energy Collective or any subsequent owners of that property, if they happen to transfer it, failed to live up to their obligations in the insurance contract that they would have, that we might be left out because the insurance company might be able to cancel it with due notice to us, but, you know, where do we go from there type of thing? Because now, if the entity that owned the property was, let's say, bankrupt and not able to pay the premiums, you know, we wouldn't be able to go after that entity if they were already bankrupt. So that's what my concern was. So it seems as if they've addressed that. I would, at this point, just want to make sure that we review it before we make the final, but I would say that if it's all in order, that we could issue the certificate at the next meeting on the 17th.
Is there a contract or something that you guys have for a certain amount of time, or?
With regard to leasing the land or?
Leasing or doing construction?
We have a 25-year land lease with, I think, 4 or 5-year optional extensions.
Okay.
So the intent is
So at
that-
this point, they hear 25 plus, but that could get sold to somebody else at some point in time. But, I mean, at
there is
least,
a contract,
yeah, there is something that,
And this agreement would be for 3 years, and in that time, all we're concerned about is that restoration area that they have constructed will survive this next growing season and maybe the one after, and then we can release it.
And then what happens if it doesn't? Can
We use the 16 to have an independent contractor put it in, or they probably would prefer to do it themselves because it may not be $16,000 worth of work. But it always seems to happen that if the town puts it out as a contract, all of a sudden it's 16,000.
yeah.
And they probably could do it for far less, so.
Yeah,
We'd give them that
essentially
option.
rebuild it once.
And again, it's presumed that Clean Energy Collective or any other subsequent owner, you know, would be wanting to put it back in the correct way and save themselves some money over the 16,000. So this is just basically good security, and I just want to make sure that if the town administrator wants the town council to review it, just to make sure it's good, then, you know, we have that time to do that. So I'll put a rush on it.
So a motion to continue till the next meeting?
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Don't make that motion.
I'll second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Movement.
Great, thanks, guys.
By the
Thank
looks,
you.
we're almost there. Thank you.
Next year.
And let's see, up to number 11. Enforcement order for 255 South Elm, or South Street?
273.
270. Number 12 on your list. Alrighty, that way that you can get this done and get somebody home to bed.
Yeah, this is bedtime.
We could take turns holding him.
He's a good peddler.
You don't have to sit out back, come on out. We don't bite.
Sit there, Nuggies.
They stay.
Looks like he's out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he usually he goes to bed by 8 o'clock, but around 6:30 he'll take like a little half-hour cat nap.
Gee, it sounds like me when I don't have a meeting.
It's a good thing though. I got him on a schedule already.
Does he sleep
Good.
all the way
That's
from 8
great,
to?
I mean,
No, he sleeps like 4 hours
Oh.
and then like three
Hmm.
and a half each
Yeah.
after that. So,
Is he 12 pounds?
huh? He's 13 pounds.
Then he'll be sleeping all night pretty quick.
Yeah.
Usually around 12 pounds.
Yeah, I hope so.
That
It'd
helps.
be nice to catch up on some sleep.
Did we know that? I mean, I know these two seem to have known it, but do we know those things?
Well, I bet you know
No.
things out in the barn that we don't know.
All right, I guess you're here this evening to give us an update.
Yeah, so Brooke said she will be coming out this week. She was behind because of all that rain that we ended up getting last week or the week before. So she said she has another appointment in Bridgewater this week. So she would be out this week to do it. She just didn't give me an exact day. She just said this week.
Okay, what that refers to is Brooke Monroe, actually the original botanist that did the flagging for this project when it was for the septic upgrade. We'll be going out there this week.
This week,
Couple-
Well, she came last year, in about this time, 2016. And we had made a request, she had made a request to have the town go out and meet her, and then nobody showed up. Nobody went. An email was sent.
I will
nobody-
correct that she and I talked on the phone, and she felt that that there was not much difference in her opinion. And I says, well, why waste their money and our time? And at that time, we were communicating, so I didn't think it was necessary. That as long as he stayed out of the wetlands, and I gave him some pictures where I figured I could give him some landmarks to follow. So that's why it was canceled, not because we didn't show up. It's because
That was never relayed to us.
so.
That the botanist and the town, that was never relayed to us.
So did she charge you for anything?
She did not end up charging us for anything, but.
So
when
no
we left-
harm, no foul, right?
Excuse me. When we left this meeting, the last time we were here a year ago, we were under the understanding that a botanist was gonna come to my house, which we made happen, and the town was gonna come to the house, which never happened. It happened after we were told that, oh, this is what you need to do. No, that doesn't work for me. If a botanist is coming to the house, which we've told her we'd pay her to come to our house, and then the town was gonna come to the house, and the town never showed up. And actually, the town did show up without talking to me and letting us know that they were coming. On Monday, prior to removal of these dangerous pine trees that were hanging over my son's room, and how we found out about this is a landscaper and a horticulturist friend of mine came to the house to meet Cameron. He was, what, 2 weeks old?
Yeah.
To meet Cameron. He was 2 weeks old. Immediately from the driveway, he said, hey man, we need to really look into these trees. And he came to these trees and he tapped the trees with the stick and they were completely hollow. That Monday, I went to Mr. Delano's office and I said, hey, these trees, I hired a company. They need to come in there. They've already marked these trees. These trees need to be removed. They're very dangerous. I come from Florida. My brother lives in Puerto Rico. I'm familiar with hurricanes, I'm familiar with storms, and I'm familiar with dangerous trees. And if someone that is in the business of removing trees tells me, have you guys seen the trees?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I've driven by, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they
No,
they
but,
did.
like,
that.
they were
We're not
completely
disputing that they were
hollow.
dangerous and needed to come
Yeah.
down.
but
We need on file where the wetland line is, because the 50-foot no touch from what the botanist had originally done, even though it wasn't a permitted hearing, put it basically in the back corner of your house. So anything in the backyard is off limits from what we believed was told to us when they redid the septic
Right.
system, which isn't your fault. You didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
well beyond.
there was
And we're
a
not
shed.
saying we don't want to give you a backyard or give you area that's previously disturbed so you can have a play area for your
Yeah.
kids and use it. That's not what we're trying to tell you, no, we can't. We just want to have some ground rules to know where the wetland line really is, so we can say, yes, you can go
Yeah.
25 feet, 50 feet, whatever it ends up being, into your backyard, and not have somebody say, hey, the wetland line is disputed, and,
so
We're
again,
not-
this could have been fixed a year ago.
yeah, I mean, so so then, if you had the trees that needed to be down, there would have been any concern or anything, because, hey, this line is now,
Yeah.
Monroe says it's here, we say it's here, we've agreed on it, and it's put to bed, so to speak.
Right, like, she's out of work right now because of the baby. Like, we didn't have $5,000 to pay for, that's how much it cost to remove these trees that were hanging over my house. I mean, you saw the crane.
But when someone says your son's in danger, like,
My house is in danger. I mean, is the town gonna pay for the trees if they fall on my house?
No.
So,
Yeah.
right now, I'm not touching any trees. Is the town responsible if any trees falls on my house?
No.
So, where do we draw the line? I'm not gonna, I come to the office, I let someone know, hey, this is Monday. These trees need to be removed. I'll give you a phone call by the end of the day. I'll let you know what's going on. I'll come to your house. I took days off. I'm waiting. What do you want me to do?
Man, oh man, that is totally incorrect. I said to
I
him...
didn't come to your office on Monday?
I said, yes, he did. And then I said, I can come out on Thursday. So did I come out on Thursday?
At what time?
I don't know exactly.
15:45.
What time was it?
15:45.
Okay, so I did come out on Thursday.
After you
And,
received
and
the
what
call.
I,
You said you were going to call me. You didn't say you were going to come Thursday. You said, I'm going to call you to set up an appointment. That's what you said.
no, I said I'd be out Thursday because that's the
Sure.
day you asked me to be there because you were going to be home.
Sure.
So, and I had told you that I would come out, I would take pictures, and then I would give you the permission to cut down any trees that we agreed upon at that
A
time.
year ago, you told me there was 3 trees in my yard according to your piece of paper, and you said, I could give you permission right now to get rid of all these trees. There's only 3 trees on this piece of paper.
I did not. Do you have that piece of paper? I'd love
You
to
had
see
it.
it.
You brought it to my house.
So anyway, they already know the circumstances, but I'll repeat it again. So
You tell them you get in my face too? I
So-
don't want to talk to you. You tell them you said that?
So the next thing I get is a call that they're in there cutting the trees. And I had told him about the story about 48 Harvestwood Drive where I had gone out and taken pictures, and I warned him not to take anything more than what we agreed upon when I come out on Thursday. And I explained how costly it was to the individual on 48 Harvestwood Drive because he went and cut everything out there instead of the ones that I gave him permission. And I explained to him that the commission has no problem allowing people to cut down trees that are a safety hazard, but we have to document it so we don't have a 48 Harvestwood occur again. And again, I warned him that it's costly if he goes and does things without the approval. And lo and behold, he had the company in there that morning cutting trees, and I find out about it in the afternoon. And he didn't call to say that I got the guys in there this morning, can you come right out? Then I had to find out about it from a phone call.
I mean, the trees probably would have come down anyways. From what I've seen driving by, they needed to
you
come
can,
down.
we have a
It was
picture
just-
that there was
yeah.
mice living in one of the trees.
Yeah.
It was completely hollow.
So what you're saying is, John said he would be out on a Thursday. You agreed to that, right?
No, I came to the office on Monday. He said that I'm going to call you to let you know what's going on. Whether it was Thursday, I don't remember.
You
But-
said specifically that Thursday was the day off and you were gonna be home, and that's the day you
Yeah, and I
preferred me
was
to
home.
come. And you preferred that I come on
And they
Thursday.
didn't come till 9:30. You said you were going to call me.
But on Monday, you didn't know what day they were coming?
No idea.
Yeah.
They said that if we don't get to you on Thursday, he called us Wednesday evening. He said, if we don't cut this on Thursday, we're not going to get to you for 2 weeks because I have guys going on vacation.
When did he tell you that?
Wednesday evening.
Okay.
So that was after he was in on Monday, so.
Yeah. So, John saying that he'd be there on Thursday, there was no specific time, or?
John said he would call us, send her an email or call.
Oh, no,
and
I did
give
not say that.
and make an appointment.
I would have done that if I had said that.
But even still though, that Thursday, you knew that there was something gonna happen, so you should have called prior to the
A
company
year
coming
ago,
in?
something was going to happen, and I never got informed of it either.
Right, but at that point on Monday, you didn't know the tree guys were coming,
No.
and you knew that there was a possible issue
You didn't.
within a wetland line area. If a landscaper or a tree company was coming on a Thursday and you knew it Wednesday, even a phone call saying, hey, they've got time, they're coming in early, not
7
expected
p.m.
it, and
7 p.m. is when they called us. I was wasn't I in Canada?
I think so, yeah.
I was in Canada for an international sniper competition.
I mean, even an email or a phone call to the office, that's an answering machine that could have been at midnight even and said, hey, they're coming unexpectedly tomorrow morning, can you come as soon as you can or get here early?
Now, wouldn't
Just a heads up would have been,
the tree company itself have any concerns about wetlands? Would they have to say, do you have any documentation?
I spoke to the guy at the site, and I said, when you see wetlands, don't you want to know whether the commission for the town that you're working in is agreeable to this? And he said that he wasn't aware that there were wetlands there.
But you guys knew there was an issue, possibly,
We knew that
Of
there was
wetlands.
dangerous trees.
but of wetlands though too.
We, at that point, we did not know where the boundary's been established because we have not had the official, this is where the boundaries are.
So,
That's right.
just to kind of expand upon that, I had sent them, I can't remember how many, but quite a few photographs of that backyard with lines, yellow lines drawn on it with descriptions of what those lines were. And it basically said wetland line, and you could see from the photograph what trees, where, landmarks of where the wetland line is. Trying to, at that point, again, I'll back up to the botanist talking with me on the phone saying that she didn't think that it would change from what she originally had on her plan back when the septic system was being proposed to the commission.
She
And so I
didn't
said,
do
well,
that,
rather than
the
lose,
septic system.
rather than wasting their money, if you're not feeling that it's gonna be all that much different, I'll work with him because, at that time, he was coming into the office and being very cooperative and interested in doing the right thing. And so I figured it would save him some money. So why have her come out and spend their money to come up with something that was basically the same? And so in my photographs, I actually went a little bit farther towards the wetlands than what the botanist had originally flagged out, which was basically the edge of the lawn in the back of the house. I gave him a benefit of doubt a little bit more in those pictures. And like I say, there were landmarks on those pictures that you could go from that tree to this tree, and you'd know that's the boundary of the wetland as far as I was concerned.
Because I think I remember when you guys came in last year, you just bought the house,
Mhm.
and I think you said there was wasn't there like a fire pit or something out back?
There was a
Yeah.
pool, there was a pool that was out there. Well, the only thing that was left of the pool was the steel
Yeah,
on the bottom of it. There was the remnants of a shed
yeah.
that was out there. There was a bunch of bricks, old HS, West Bridgewater, old school, like 50s style. I think they still make them, but they're the old original bricks.
Mhm.
The other day I pulled out a cast iron pipe. I pulled out drums of oil that were buried out there. I pulled out an air conditioner. I pulled out steel tires with rims. I pulled out all this junk that's been literally thrown in this backyard for 20 plus years.
I remember you coming in when we were saying like you wanted to do this and that, and we're like, whoa, it's wet out there.
I'm
We
just trying to clear it up.
We understand that. We know it is. It's wet and everything like that. Yes. Do you think about maybe doing something?
Having
with
animals, which
Yep.
and he
Animals,
said
yeah, that's
we
what it
can't, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But like,
I
we
mean,
just want
but we
to
come
make
to
a
these
nice
meetings.
house.
No, we
We
just
come to these meetings and we see all these people building houses on wetlands, and I'm like, how are we getting told we can't when, like, these people are all building houses, and it's like, I'm just trying to farm. I'm trying to retire from the Marine Corps. I honestly, I feel like you folks are trying to push us out of this town.
No. We
And I went to the assessor, and who did I go talk to?
The town administrator.
I went and talked to the town administrator, and that's how I feel. I honestly feel at this point that I'm trying to get y'all trying to push me out of this town. I'm trying to I retire from the Marine Corps next year. I'm trying to farm. I'm trying to. There's so many things I do for the community. I coach at the local high school, or BR, not West Bridgewater.
Well, the problem is with your house, it's an old house.
Yeah.
A lot of these people that have come in that have had your same complaints about how can you build here, how can you build here? They're building on spots where you're able to build on. I mean, if you were to do anything with your house, or these people that come in and complain about their house or something like that, guarantee you they couldn't do what they would want to do in their backyard. But being there for 25 years, if you were there for 25 years, mowing the lawn and doing what you're doing,
Well,
it would
there's
still be okay. I mean, we want you to do that because it's not. But we could at least try to find out where the wetland land is.
And then when I pulled the state map, and after all of this going back and forth, when I pulled the state map, which is this all originated from, I read up on conservation laws, and I pulled the state map, and I grabbed a GPS, but not a GPS that you could purchase, or you may be able to purchase it, but it's a $10,000 machine that we have at work. that does very precision stuff. It's for calling in for fire. And I used that in order to establish this line. And I came up with a conclusion that the stone wall that was back there, because there's a stone wall that runs all the way back there, which is not very deep into my yard, that was probably where the wetland buffer area ended. Beyond that, which I've walked, and I think you're familiar with those woods back there, beyond that which I've walked, there's a period of dry land, and then it gets really wet. I mean, I'm wearing boots to my knees, and I'm getting in there probably about, and there's all kinds of cool plants.
Yeah. Well,
And I was under the understanding that, all right, this was probably the area that was used before as a property. Because there was a shed back there. Like I said, there's a brick fire pit or a stone fire pit. There was a pool, a steel portion of a pool that I pulled out of that I pulled out of back there, which is where the area that gets the most wet.
Yeah.
And again, this house was probably predating, I'm guessing, the 70s, which
It's
would have been...
1954.
Right, so this predates the Wetlands Protection Act in the areas. This house may or may not be allowed to be built today.
That's the thing with it being so old. I mean,
So it's so old, it predates, so there's a lot of things that happened and could be done there that back in the day was allowed, and now it wouldn't be
with the new bylaws.
because of the bylaws and the town laws. And the state GIS mapping is a rough estimate. It's not exact. Don't
I didn't know
use
that.
that as an exact one, because we find out that once we do soil testing and vegetation, that's what they use as just a general census to look at. If that shows up on a map, then you know that there's a wetland in the area. Then you have to investigate further to actually find out where that line actually falls. And a lot of times, we're finding it's a conservative line. It actually goes a lot further than what it is. Occasionally, we found it that it's less, but more often than not, it's just a general guideline. So, hey, you know that there's a problem, that there's wetlands on your property. You've got to beware of that and then go further.
Yeah.
We're not looking to say you can't use your land, that you can't do what you're allowed to do on it.
Yeah.
We just want to give you some area in the back where you can actually use the backyard and have a backyard. I mean, it was used before at one point. It was disturbed. I know the house when you bought it was let go for a fairly
Since
long time. I mean, it was grown in.
Yeah.
I mean, we just recently found out that because of all the trees, we are, now that we removed the trees, our roof is damaged, so we have to replace our roof. And this is not you problems, this is me problems. I gotta replace my roof. I mean, we're trying to make that house look better. Next spring, we plan on painting it. So it's like, we're taking a place that was a piece of junk, because it was an eyesore. That big tree that was out in front of the house, you know what was underneath that? Like 50 paint jugs. Like,
Yeah.
I'm removing all of this junk and waste.
Well, I'll be honest with you, guys. I've lived here all my life, and I would not even believe where some of these houses are being built. I never would even think that the house would be able to go there. I'll take just one example. Take a ride up on Stony, right? You know where Stony is?
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as you get on there, you go around a bend. As soon as you hit that bend, there's one house that's right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's brand new, a couple years old, whatever it is. Take a look at their yard.
They don't have.
Talk about no yard.
Yeah.
I mean, and they built this house because they wanted a house, but it's
Yeah.
crazy, and we're not trying
And
to
knowing
tell
that they're
you.
not going to have a yard.
But
Yeah.
they were knowing they didn't, but they wanted to live there, they wanted
Yeah.
that house, and but considering your house is so old,
Yeah.
these are
I
the
mean,
conditions you gotta deal
We
with,
know
and
that
we're
we
trying
have, we
to.
have 2 acres. We don't want to take down the whole 2 acres. Like, that's understandable. You know what I mean? Like,
But we definitely
the
wanna give you
trees
a
were an
yard,
issue because
definitely.
obviously, I'm sure as a parent, you know, like, if someone says your child's in danger, like,
Yeah, we're
first
not
thing you're gonna do
saying,
is
hey,
jump to get it taken care
we're
of.
against taking the trees down. We
Yeah.
just wanted to know where the wetland line was.
Yeah.
And again, because similar things to Harvestwood, the one up Pearl Road. I mean, we've had incidents in town where people just almost clear cuts
Yeah.
places.
and that's not what we want to do at all.
We didn't clear cut anything.
Right, and
No.
Yeah.
We just don't wanna make
We
sure
d-
that,
No, that's not
Yeah.
our intention
Yeah.
at all. No.
and we're not trying to.
Trust me.
we're not
This
trying to
was
drive
ex-
anybody out
This
here.
was
We actually.
expensive enough.
Yeah.
Being on unpaid maternity leave, I was like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
It's a nice hit.
So I mean, if John and Brooke can catch up with the next couple of weeks and come up with where that line is, and then we can just write up an enforcement order to put,
At least try to find out where the line is, and
Yeah.
and that way there, then we can make a decision to grant waivers if we need to give you some
Okay.
space in the back to
Yeah.
have a yard, and
Yeah.
have a spot where you can,
There's plenty of other trees that are covered in poison ivy in that backyard. And you and I both know that when a tree is covered in poison ivy, and to be honest with you, I've cut a lot of that poison ivy off. I'm not allergic to poison ivy. I've cut about that much poison ivy off those trees. Find me if you want to, but it was in the wetlands and there's this much poison ivy on trees. I mean, I've cut that much of it off of it just so it doesn't grow back and reattach itself or do what it's got to do. Because I don't want any of these trees falling because that's work on me.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
There's already enough brush that I pulled and made piles that I'm working on getting rid of back there. I mean, there's so much brush, there's so much down trees and debris.
But there might be a point to where if we find the wetland line, you have to mark it. And then we'll have to tell you, okay, this is how far you're gonna be able to go.
And at this point,
No
I'm
more
all right
out.
with that. I just
Yeah.
need to know where the line is.
And that's what we're gonna try to find.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
we'll get
like,
to you.
and I don't mean like it needs to be like like let's do a straight line
Mhm.
and let's get this over with so that you guys don't have to see our face and we're
and
not
again,
gonna see our face.
if there are trees that are in the wetland area, if they are dangerous or hazardous trees, all you have to do is just say, hey, there's some trees in the wetland area that they could fall on the house, I need to have them taken down, or I need to clean, just, hey, this is what we want to do. We just say, yep, those trees are dangerous, you could have a problem,
There's
and
one,
that way
two-
there, you're
there's-
covered, and don't feel that you can't take care of those trees.
Yeah.
It's not I mean, that
Yeah.
is allowable use and allowable to do in a wetland.
Yeah.
But it just,
We just don't want you out there with a crawler, stomping it out of the ground and dragging it out onto the road, or getting rid of it that way. We just cut it down and let it go.
just leave the stump and don't disturb it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
if that's what needs to get done to any of the others that may be a problem,
There's
yeah,
about
then
4 other trees. One of them, the other half of it's completely missing. But when we were there, we didn't particularly see that as, all right, if this tree falls, how much damage is it going to cost to the house? Because the top of a tree isn't going to cause the damage
Right.
that the center or
yeah, not going to take out
not gonna take
the
out-
baby's bedroom.
We took,
I mean,
we took care
yeah.
of the trees that were hanging over his room.
Yeah.
Like those are the trees that had holes in them.
So just to make it clear so that there's no misunderstanding, the commission does not have a problem with you cutting trees, provided you get their permission to cut it.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that definitely are in wetlands. Or,
Yeah.
Anything
what.
over 100 feet away from wetlands, you can do whatever you want, but anything within 100 feet of that wetland, they have to be aware of.
Okay.
Anything within 50 feet of the wetland, they could stop you from doing things.
Okay. So once
It
Brooke
sounds to me like,
comes,
I'm
we'll-
sorry?
Once Brooke comes, we'll bring what she decides and go over it and figure out what,
Yeah.
like, if obviously our house is in that 50-foot buffer, like, can we mow
Like
the
it
back
maybe-
lawn a little bit?
And
You know what I mean?
they may elect to allow you
Okay.
to do
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
Okay.
but they have to see it first before they can tell you that kind of stuff.
And,
Okay.
and a lot of times we've had older homes, especially in this town because it's so wet, that you don't have a choice. I mean, that's a lot of times where the septic system has to go,
Yeah,
Yeah.
is
exactly.
within that 50-foot wetland area.
Sometimes the
Oh.
septic system's up.
You got
raised up
lucky,
high.
it's in the front of the house, so you
Yeah.
didn't have to deal with fill and everything else in the back and
But
Yeah.
the
building
big-
something up. So,
The biggest thing is like one of the areas, and that's where I wish last year that I was available to be there and explain things, because I've walked around the woods and I've seen things that that someone walking in there for 5 minutes isn't going to see or realize. So there's 2 areas where all of the drains coming off the house, all of the gutters, are draining out into the backyard. Well, they dug out a pit to drain the water out that it looks, and that's where there's some evidence of some wetland plants growing in those pits, and it was purposely dug out in order to allow the runoff from the house to go into that area. And now that's on 2 sides of the house, 2 sides of the property. You see what I mean? But if I'm not there to explain that, how are you going to know that? You know what I
we
mean?
typically can look at the line and see that, okay, there's 2 fingers that come out, and when we see a lot of times those fingers, so to speak, we know that, okay, they're jagged, so they don't really match the normal contour of the wetland line.
You
And
can
if
tell
they-
by the soil.
And the
Yeah.
soil.
Yeah, you're
and if there's depressions, it's
It's there. It's there, and that's where you mainly see that there's some wetland plants coming in. And again, I'm not a horticulturist or a botanist. I'm a marine that spends a lot of times in the woods.
Mhm.
And I look at trees and poison ivy and sumac, and I see a lot of that in pine trees.
Especially pine.
So at this point, if Brooke comes out this week, and you can notify me, and then I can go out and look at it.
Okay.
And then that way there, once it's all said and done, we'll
Yeah.
come up with
Okay.
a backyard for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate you coming in.
You might not be able to put a pool back there someday.
We don't
but-
want a pool. I lived in Florida. I
Okay.
don't do, the pools are expensive. I don't want a
You
pool.
can put up a little blow up one, though. Put a little one, though.
I don't want a pool.
My parents live on Orchard Drive, and they have a nice flat land with a pool, so they'll just
Yeah,
go
it's
there.
Go over there. It's easier to go.
They can deal with
Let
the
them have the
maintenance
maintenance and the
of it.
upkeep.
Exactly, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See ya.
Number 11 is the one at 255, the one that you haven't received any
Haven't
word
received
for.
anything from 255,
Is
and
that the one with the trucks?
Yeah.
and so what I'm recommending that is that we send him a letter informing that he's in violation of the enforcement order because he's missed his deadlines.
Yep.
And ask him to explain, and if it's not explained well enough, I may recommend fines at the next meeting.
Did that go out certified or anything? I mean, do we know that he got the first letter?
Kitty sent out the thing, we can track it if we need to.
Okay. I mean,
My guess is that he got it.
It didn't come back. And it would have had our name.
right, okay. I mean, I just want to make sure.
So we sent
that-
it certified, and I can go on
Right, which is
online
fine. I
and
mean, if it
track
went
it.
certified and we can track it, then,
Yep.
I mean.
Yep.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion to send a second letter.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All set. I think, John, that's it on your report, except
Yes.
for some order of conditions signing and certificate of compliance signings. And you said there was that,
We're gonna hold the condition, the order.
COC for Manley will hold
Yeah.
that
right,
one.
okay.
So it's, what you have is 54 Beacon, to sign that order, and then to sign it. Well, you don't wanna sign that one.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, that one, that one goes right to Kitty or whoever stops there.
We'll have to have Mo
Mo
come
come in, or
and,
Steve.
Or,
Or even Ryan.
yeah, either.
Yeah.
Okay.
All this time? No, she can't. Give it.
I'll give those back to Kitty. Is there anything else?
Yep. We have here. John bought himself a new chair pad. I mean, floor
Chair
saver.
pad.
A floor chair, a saver, floor saver under his chair.
Seeing what the wheels do to the carpeting, I
Yeah,
think
they-
we better protect it.
Yeah. It's a lot cheaper to do that.
Then, yeah, to do the whole card.
And a memo about the annual fall conference.
Sign? No?
No, it's just a memo.
That's just an FYI.
Okay.
Let me just make sure.
Now, I haven't been to the fall conference at all. However, can you go for half a day and pay for half, or do you have to pay for the full day?
I
I
think
would
it's
think
a
you-
whole day fee, but you can get some of the
Yeah, you could do some of it.
fundamental.
I just need one fundamental left, and they happen to be offering it in the morning, and I'm like, okay, I can rearrange my work schedule to get the time off if I have to, but
Aren't some of them online too?
Some do come online. I don't know which ones.
right, that
were.
one had it. It was online 2 years ago, and then I thought I was going to be able to catch it at the annual meeting, and they haven't run it at the annual meeting since then. So I'm waiting for either to come online again, or when I saw this, I said, oh, I only need one, and the rest of them really, I don't need anything, or there's nothing for the afternoon one that I haven't taken or that I would need to take. So it would be kind of a repetitive thing. So I didn't know if anybody had gone and do they do a half day. I mean, I could pay for the full day, get the one, and, but it'd be kind of like a waste of money. I look at it that unless there was something there to go to.
What is the whole day registration cost?
110.
Similar to what?
The annual
Yeah,
meeting
it
is. So I'd rather wait and see the
That's
annual meeting.
reimbursable with proof of attendance.
Right, but I'd rather go to
Yeah.
the annual meeting and have other people,
Yeah.
if they want to go to this or the annual meeting, then. It looks like it's more just the fundamentals than, like the annual meeting has a bunch of other.
They've obviously made a change because in years past, I've gone to the fall, and it's basically like one big workshop for the day. And I think they found that they got less attendance that way, whereas the annual meeting with the multiple what's the word?
Presentations or available
With the-
breakout groups.
Yeah, with the, all the different workshops
Workshops,
running
yeah.
at the same time. The word will come to me. Must be
Concurrent
some-
sessions.
Tonight when you're
Concurrent,
sleeping.
there you go, thank you. Senior
Oh, I
moment,
like that, phraseology.
my senior moment for the evening. And I think they found that if they tried this way, I think it's the first time, and I think they'll find it's a little bit more successful.
Which I mean, I have no problem. I think it's a great program. It's worth anybody going that's available and can go. It just, for me, I only needed a half of it. It would have been perfect if they had it in the afternoon, and then I wouldn't have to worry about taking a day off. I could work the morning and go in the afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the unfortunate part about it, is that it does, for people at work, it does take away from their work.
The winter one, spring season hasn't started yet, but fall season's in full swing,
Yeah.
so got our 8 weeks of Saturdays to go through.
Yep.
But nothing else, Kitty?
Oh, not that I know about.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Move and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you. And Paula, thank you for coming tonight.
I'm glad
You
I
made
could
our quorum.